How can I say this nicely? Venom 3 solidifies the Venom franchise trilogy as the worst comic book trilogy ever created. Venom: The Last Dance just so happens to be the worst of the three. It is quite literally
ass.
And that makes the Venom trilogy
a 2-pack of ass.
Or I guess you could say a 3-pack. It's a 3-pack of ass. A trilogy of ass. I want you, my viewer, to tell me of any comic book trilogy that you can think of that is actually worse. You might be a person who actually likes these movies, and that's totally fine. I'm not trying to yuck your yum. But Venom: The Last Dance is so bad that Kevin Feige himself essentially told Sony to get his trash out of the MCU. The very first scene of this movie where we see Eddie Brock and Venom is a retcon of Spider-Man: No Way Home. If you remember in Spider-Man: No Way Home, the end credits scene, Venom is pulled back into the Sonyverse, but he leaves a little bit of symbiote behind. In this particular movie, we get that same scene, but it's reversed, where Venom is still pulled back into the Sony universe, but the little bit of symbiote that he leaves behind is left on the bar in the Sonyverse and not the bar in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which tells me that Feige said, "You need to leave." Hell no. And that, my friends, is the start of the tomfoolery. And it kind of brings up my issue with this entire franchise. Our leads, Eddie Brock and Venom, are juvenile. They're obnoxious. If you don't like this type of comedy, you're not going to enjoy these movies. But I'm a comic book fan, so I see them all, good or bad. I've never walked into a theater wanting a bad experience. That's not the type of time I'm on. Even if I think something is going to be bad, I would rather be wrong than be validated. And this movie validated to the nth degree. The movie starts off with Eddie being pulled back into the Sony universe where he is a fugitive. He comes back immediately wanting to travel to New York because Venom believes that's a good destination for them. They haven't been there before. There's a judge who they want to take out something or otherwise.
It doesn't matter!
The movie is essentially a road trip with Eddie and Venom to New York while being hunted by the United States government, as well as the main villain of this movie, Knull, a relatively recent comic book villain. He actually debuted in 2018 and has made it from the page to the screen in no time. He was so good in the comics that it makes sense for him to have made his appearance, but it's kind of null and void because he's stuck in a prison in a void, and essentially throughout the movie just sending his symbiote Terminators to Earth to take out Venom and any other symbiotes that they can find, but they're looking for something specific. They're looking for a codex. This codex was something that was in Venom, so when Venom and Eddie are in full Venomized form, the symbiote hunter can find him, which means for most of the movie he's not in full Venomized form. Sometimes he's just a fist or a foot, or he hangs out on Eddie's shoulder. We don't really get a chance to see a lot of the full Venom, and you can honestly argue that we've never seen the full Venom because he doesn't even have the spider on his chest. Still, in the third movie he doesn't have the spider on his chest. Sony was like, no, you can't connect him to Spider-Man because he's never met him, which is really weird because how the hell did he get pulled into the Marvel Cinematic Universe in No Way Home if he's never met Spider-Man? That's a discussion for another day. You see more of other symbiotes than you actually see of Venom in his full form. It's the same problem I had with Iron Man 3, where he was pretty much never in the suit until the end where he was jumping from suit to suit. I came to see Tony Stark, yes, and Robert Downey Jr., awesome performance, but I'm here for Iron Man. I'm here for the superhero to be super. Knull follows the same trend as all the villains in this trilogy, being an absolute shell of themselves from the comics. Just recall Cletus Cassidy and that wig that they put Woody Harrelson in. No way in hell should Carnage be PG-13. Have you read Maximum Carnage? There are certain characters who belong in certain ratings. Venom and Carnage definitely apply. And so is Knull, who does nothing in this movie and essentially follows the same trend of two other movies I've seen this year, Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, as well as Beetlejuice. The main villain is pretty much set aside away from the protagonist all the way up until the end of the film, and when they finally do arrive at the end of the film, they are defeated immediately.
That shit stinks.
Their minions were doing all the work, and when they showed up, they just died. It was like, what, that was a waste. waste. And speaking of waste, there's an entire sequence of this film, about 20 to 30 minutes right in the middle, where Eddie is absolutely doing nothing. He goes on a road trip with his family who believes in aliens and are driving to Area 51. We'll get to that later. This entire sequence with his family lasts way too long. They're singing songs. The song that they sing, Ground Control to Major Tom, feels like it's taking forever because it literally has nothing to do with the movie. It doesn't serve the plot at all. This quirky family, who quite frankly were better characters than Venom himself. And speaking of better characters, you have the characters from Area 51. Area 51 is being decommissioned, but they have another area, I believe is Area 52, underground, where they're holding the other symbiotes, which the general, played by Chiwetel Ejiofor, want to destroy. The main scientist, played by Juno Temple, wants to keep the symbiotes alive and study them. The entire cast at the Area 51 base was boring. I did not care for any of their motivations. The hippies on the road trip were boring as well, and in words, they were singing, but at the same time, I'm not entirely sure I wouldn't have rather spent my time with those characters than with Eddie Brock and Venom. In no world should your main character be the character I want to spend the least time with. And lastly, these plot holes, which I think is an overdone critique of film made by people who are not able to understand something that they're seeing on screen the very first time they see it. They don't even think to do a little bit of research, a little bit of looking up. I think it's an overused and misused critique of films, but my lord, the plot holes in this movie you could literally drive a truck through. Characters will be locked away and suddenly get out with no explanation. There's a point in the film where Venom utilizes a military machine that he had never seen before and would have no idea what it did or how it worked. From face value, you wouldn't be able to tell what that machine does. There's a lot of plot holes in the filming where you're looking around like, wait, how would she know that? How would he know that? Why in the world would he do this? Why would the main scientist lady keep a secret weapon that could literally help everyone survive until the last possible second when most of the people who she was working with was already dead?
A 2-pack of ass.
The movie is a failure on every level and completes the worst trilogy in comic book movie history. A trilogy of ass, as I stated before. So how would I rate this final installment in this trilogy of ass? I'm going to say it's somebody's favorite movie. I actually have friends who really enjoy the film. As for me in my house, we will not serve the Lord Knull. So with that being said, let me know what you think about Venom: The Last Dance in the comments, whether you enjoyed it or whether you did not enjoy it like I didn't. And I'll see you guys next time.